Nigeria's opposition landscape is shifting rapidly as key figures rally to challenge President Tinubu ahead of the 2027 election. The coalition aims to preserve multi-party democracy and prevent Nigeria from sliding into one-party dominance, a concern amplified by recent defections from opposition ranks to the ruling APC. In Kaduna State, local opposition stakeholders have pledged support to the ADC, signaling an organized grassroots effort ahead of 2027. But cracks are already appearing within the opposition. Maurice Monye, director of mobilization for the Obedient Movement, has resigned, accusing Mr. Peter Obi of neglecting the group and failing to support its leadership. Monye's departure, coming just months after other top members exited, has raised doubts about the cohesion and sincerity of the Obedient base. Meanwhile, critics warn that the opposition risks losing its voice if it fails to unite meaningfully around shared principles. Joining us to take a look at the state of opposition politics in Nigeria is Dr. Moses Paul. He is the Secretary General of the Obedient Movement and chairmanship candidate of the African Democratic Congress for the 2026 FCT Area Council election. Fantastic to have you, Dr. Moses. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get into it right away. This recent resignation by Maurice Monye, he is Director of Mobilization of the Obedient Movement. There have also been other resignations, although quietly and secretly. What do you think this signifies for the Obedient Movement, or what does this do to the movement?
So, first of all, leadership is a journey. And in every journey, there are moments of transitions. What we see with the stepping aside or the resigning of the director of mobilization of the Obedient Movement is one of such moments. But it's also important to say that the fact that one person step aside does not change the collective aspirations, the dreams, the vision of a new Nigeria would always remain intact. And it's important to, always put this in focus, because it is time for us as a nation and as a people and as a movement to move from agitation to organization. We must move from frustration to solution, from emotions to structure. And that's the baseline for us as a people.
Many would agree with you that leadership is a journey, and especially in Nigeria, in the political landscape here, it's very difficult. It is tough to run any movement, even, for a political party. We see what is happening with, governors decamping to the opposition party and all of that. But I'd like to ask you, Kenneth Okonkwo, who used to be a former spokesman of Mr. Peter Obi, has accused Mr. Obi of surrounding himself with street urchins and individuals without intellectual capacity. There's quite a bit going on in the Obedient Movement. So would you say that the Obedient Movement, as it is dead?
We must be careful to not label a national awakening of a nation. This is something that millions of Nigerians believe in. The Obedient Movement is a dynamic and evolving. It's a movement that is there to ensure that we have a new Nigeria. Because of the dynamic nature of the movement, people who are parochial in terms of traditional understanding of how things are done find it very difficult, to relate with it. This is a movement that is against the grain. It's beyond the parochialism of religion, class status, political parties, and everything that has divided us as a nation. The movement continues to remind us of where we're coming from. the unity that binds us together, that strength that gave our founding fathers the ability to give to us a nation. This is what it reminds us of. And because of where we are today in the trajectory of our nation, where black is white and white is black, where people who do not keep to the tenets of the law want to be the ones to dictate, to people, it's very difficult to understand these nuances. And it is good because for the change that the movement, like obedient movement, will bring, a lot of people will not see it coming, because if you can see it coming, then it is not in itself that movement that can bring the change that is required. I mean, you can look at some of the leaders, look at people, across board, Nigerians, young people, market women. It's about the people. It's not about position. The movement is galvanized by the energy of the essence of people who truly believe in a new Nigeria. These are the downtrodden market women, people who have been abandoned for years, So it's going to be it's a nuance. And if you are parochial in your thinking, you will continue to insult that same energy and the sensibilities of true Nigerians who are patriots.
All right. Okay. I think, I'm going to interject at this point, especially when you're speaking about, the change that needs to happen and so forth. I've sat down with Maurice Monye's resignation letter. I've looked at it in detail. And it's an indictment on the obedient movement, and it raises huge concerns about this movement that you say is supposed to bring change. I'd love for you to address a few of the issues that were tackled there. Let's talk money. Because as director of mobilization, he's saying that the Directorate of Mobilization didn't even have a bank account. And that most transactions were done personally from his own personal funds. What do you have to say about this? Do you have insight into how the finances are run, especially where mobilization is concerned?
Yeah, and it's important not to dismiss concerns that are raised by people who have served. However, it is also important not to to model up things and to, because again, the movement is not just about a single individual. Mr. Peter Obi is one man, and the movement is millions of people. And if there are, maybe if there are break in communication or break in funding, or gaps rather to say, it is important to address it. Yes, these are structural issues, not the failure of one man, and as somebody who is an insider, who also understands, the nuances of the movement, it's very important because, again, it is not about an individual. It's about the collective drive of, us as a people and also as a movement. So it's time to look at it. For me, what is even most critical is how we go about it. It's not, the issues should be looked at critically, with grace, and should be attended to, but it should not become an opportunity to tear down the movement, but also an opportunity to strengthen it and to build it.
Fair enough. Now, okay, I think that's a very fair takeaway. Now, some are saying that the Anambra election was the straw that broke the camel's back. Of course, we know that Anambra is supposed to be Peter Obi's stronghold, his home turf. And the outing we saw at the just concluded election was a huge blow to, sort of the momentum that many thought the obedient movement had garnered. And, some are saying that for as long as Peter Obi is not on the ballot, there is no obedient movement. That's one issue. The second issue is the fact that the obedient movement and Labour Party still sort of have this strange amphibious relationship that can't be defined. So I want you to speak to two things. Do you think the obedient movement can actually flourish beyond Peter Obi being on the ballot? And number two, is obedient movement affiliated with Labour Party or with ADC? Which one is it?
So the obedient movement is a movement that is an energy that goes beyond the parochials of whether religion, whether political parties, whether social status. And until you understand this energy, it's going to be very difficult to be able to relate with it. Yes, Mr. Peter Obi sits on the niche of this energy, characterized by competence, by consistency, by compassion, and by character. So it wouldn't matter much which political party in the context of this definition. You know, because it's also a movement.
Dr. Moses Paul, our ballot papers don't have energy. Our ballot paper have party logos.
Agreed and accepted. We are at a critical stage where things are evolving. If you know, when you look at the movement from, let's say, from the NSAS to the different movements that have existed, that accumulated into the 2022, 2023 general election, where young people across board, regardless of political parties, I can tell you right here that people that are voting for Mr. Peter Obi or for certain individuals, I have people in the APC, in the PDP, in different political parties who voted for Mr. Peter Obi. And this needs to be understood very critically. Yes, Mr. Peter Obi is still a member of the Labour Party, but fully involved with the coalition. And he made it very clear when he came and attended an event that I organized here on 1st October. He says going forward that it's important for him to support, promote, and galvanize his energy around individuals who are nation builders, who have compassion, who have the characteristics to be able to move nations and institutions forward. And he also declares his support for me, even though I'm in the ADC. And this is important to understand this very clearly, because if you don't, and it's going to become confusing. Yes, if you look at different movements across the world, I believe that a time will come in Nigeria where we're going to have political parties that are driven by deep ideology. We're not there yet.
Okay, so you did make a point about Mr. Peter Obi being just one man, and many people would completely agree with you. However, in every movement, in every organization, institution, a leader is needed. So the question is, do you think Mr. Peter Obi provides the leadership that people are looking for in order to sustain this movement and potentially transition it into something bigger? Because that's part of the discussion that is going on within the obedient movement and outside of it as well.
Mr. Peter Obi does not only provide direction and leadership, he exemplifies these nuances, these values. He epitomizes this by his lifestyle, by what he does, by what he says, and what he continues to teach us as a people. So, like I said, that you have a structural issue in the obedient movement, that does not translate to the failure of one man. This is important to understand very clearly, because this again is part of the reason why in our country we often galvanize rather than build institutions. We are building personalities.
But we're talking more about managing people, because you have to manage the organization, which is what people are talking about now. Yes, you live by example, which is fantastic. However, not everybody has the ability to run an organization in such a way that it will blossom and thrive and sort of reach that potential that people want it to. And that is what is going on in the obedient movement, as a lot of people say.
No, I mean, for a few people who have pulled out, I mean, if you look at all the institutions and organizations that exist in Nigeria, even private organizations, a lot of people, like I said, transitions happen. And while we respect the transitioning of a few people who have resigned, that should not become the yardstick for our collective aspiration, for the values, for the mission, for the vision of a new Nigeria. And speaking specifically to our leader, Mr. Peter Obi, this is a man that has built many companies, many, in the banking system. He understands the nitty-gritty of what needs to be done, and he's doing it. And it would not be too, I mean, this is a movement, for goodness sake. This is a movement of people who are growing, people from different belief systems, people from different, areas and walks of life. And it's even a beautiful thing that people can disagree and go in and out. It shows actually the dynamism of and the beauty of the Obedient movement.
Okay, Dr. Moses Paul, we do have to round up at this stage. However, in one sentence, do you think it is possible for any member of the Obedient movement to win an election when Peter Obi is not on the ballot?
I'm on the ballot.
Yes or no?
I'm on the ballot come the 21st of February,
you haven't
2026. And I can tell you, you take a poll at what's going on in the FCT right now, and I can tell you, not only that I am the best of all, I have a PhD in environmental resource planning. I've been attending to issues regarding our education, regarding healthcare, regarding so many things, and I'm winning. I'm the next chairman of AMAC because this is what will birth the new AMAC and new Nigeria.
Dr. Moses Paul. Well, we wait to see what transpires. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for unpacking all things going on in the Obedient movement. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for today on Daybreak. I'm Vabai Mutiniri signing out for today.
And I'm Constance Ikoku. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.